Hello. Good morning. Welcome to a wake up stream. My name is Hannah. My channel is Hannah Needs to Yell, and today I am trying something new. I am using StreamYard, the unpaid version, because we have a lot to talk about today, and I have a short time to do it, and I do not want to come in here today without information to show you. And StreamYard is pretty good at that. So, please like the video, subscribe to my channel. Sorry, I'm like, I have to go to work. Okay. So I want to talk about this really quick this morning because I talked about it Friday. Friday? Yeah, I think, or Thursday of last week. It's been about a week and a lot has happened, and I feel like it's important that we talk about the updates related to the Kwite and Orion accusations situation. Especially like once I talk about something, I do not want to ignore updates that happen, especially when some of those updates provide more clarity for me. I assume that they would also provide more clarity for other people. So that's what I'm here to share. I want to do a little bit of something that I didn't quite do last time, which was providing some actual visible physical evidence, screenshots, whatever, for you guys. So I'm going to start there. We're going to go through a timeline of everything that's happened, and from there we can move forward. Let me I took notes in preparation, so I'll just use them on my phone instead of where I had put them. So in case you're new to this story, Orion is a Twitter user, and we find out throughout this story a longtime acquaintance, if not friend, if not more than that, of Kwite a YouTuber. Oh, hi, Shannon. I'm doing these more. I'm doing lives more often. You could always watch them afterward. So tell me if there's echoing happening also. Guys, tell me if there's any audio stuff, because this is a new program for me, so I just want to make sure I'm doing things in a way that makes sense for you guys. So I'm screen sharing. Can you see my screen? Yes, you can. Okay, fantastic. So I've laid everything out here. On February 22nd, and let me just, how is this formatted for you guys? I'm so sorry. Okay, you can see me. Thank God. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm new and I'm poor. So on February 22nd of this year, Orion, like I said, an acquaintance of Kwite for a while, if not friends, if not more than that at a certain time, tweeted essay allegations against Kwite in a twit longer, which this is that tweet from Orion's Twitter profile. They pinned it to the top of their profile at the time. And I'm going to show the twit longer. I'm going to ask you guys to either screenshot or come back in the future to pause to read, because I don't have time to read all the way through. But it is important, I think, to have these memorialized on the internet somewhere. I know that a lot of other people have also, but I want to make sure that mine are available to those who would want them, because now we're going to find out a little bit later in the video, a little later in the timeline, Orion's Twitter does not exist anymore. So that's where these were housed, and I want to make sure that they're out there. But thankfully, in the last part of the twit longer, they provide us with a TLDR version. TLDR, I was R-word by Kwite, emotionally abused, dead-named, called slurs, and gaslit into silence for 6 years, according to them. This is what they alleged on the 22nd of February. So, along with that original twit longer, they attached some screenshots to support what they were saying. The first one is this conversation between himself and Kwite. This is back in February of 2018, and Orion, it looks like it has to be Orion. Orion is talking with Kwite and says, required, probably about something else. Also, what are your family doing while we hang? Because if they're out, hotel room empty. Kwite says, we'll see. Come on, she's bro, no good. The looks part, us meeting up is fine. So he's saying like it's the appearance that he doesn't like, but he's not against meeting up with them. And then this is Orion again, a little future. This is a little in the past. This is from June 21st, 2017. Orion says, who can I tell we're dating to? Kwite says, if you trust them to keep it secret, I trust your judgment. Probably keep it to people I know as well, though, unless you're really close with them, then I get it. This relates back to something that Orion had alleged about like Kwite being controlling and trying to keep their relationship really secret, and that they didn't like that. And like they said that they were not allowed to take and share any photos of Kwite, but Kwite was allowed to take and share photos of them. And they also say that they have never shared photos of Kwite at the time of writing the Twitlonger, at least. That turns out not to be true, but we'll find that out later on. So I'm just going to open this back up again. My largest thing about this screenshot, if we are to believe that Orion is the one in purple, which so it seems, but again, it's a weird way to do an evidence shot because they've blocked out their own information. So how are we supposed to know who Kwite is talking to? That was a red flag for me when I first saw this. But if this is Orion, which is what they're claiming, it seems like they're really the ones suggesting, doing something sexual with Kwite. And that for me was also a red flag when I saw this image originally. But at the time, because I'm in the mindset of trust but verify, I was like, well, maybe there's a grooming situation going on here, and there's more context to the story. There was more context to the story, but not in Orion's favor. So after about 2 weeks since Orion made their allegations, not a ton had happened. As it says here, Kwite had not responded after about 2 weeks. So they decided they're going to go back to normal posting. They posted a bit of art, and, they'd gained some followers. They had greatly impacted Kwite's career, and they were sitting pretty on a new support base. But one thing I'll note at the bottom of this screenshot, see this right here? This little, let me try to zoom in on that. Can I? Remember how Orion said that they had never shared these photos of Kwite's face? This is a photo of them. Orion is over here, and that's Kwite's face. So at least on March 5th, they decided to share it. I feel like that was probably a way of baiting Kwite to speak, honestly. So that was what we had in the timeline in terms of information. There was like a little bit more. Orion had provided a few photos of themselves with Kwite, which for some reason for them it was like, this is the nail in the coffin. If I can show that Kwite's face exists, then I am telling the truth. Just because you've met somebody and they have a face doesn't mean you're telling the truth, but okay. So then on March 11th, Kwite posted a response video. It was thorough. It was emotional. He described and disclosed a lot of his own personal insecurities in the process of disproving essentially what Orion had said about him. And this was not too long before I made my first video on Thursday or Friday morning, talking about how like there was this imbalance of information. And so I wanted Orion to say something else because what they had said so far was thin compared to Kwite's massive information dump with this video, which included, by the way, the entire history of messages between Kwite and Orion. Kwite published those. He linked to them in the description of this video. So anybody who was like, oh, let's take it out of context, he was like, you can go look for yourself. You can go tell me. You decide for yourself the context of these messages and who is pressuring who about doing what. And I appreciated that. It speaks to your confidence in your story when you do something like that, and when you share the intimate private details about yourself that Kwite ended up sharing in order to prove his own innocence, according to him. Which honestly, I'm not going to bury the lead here. At this point, I am much more believing of Kwite than of Orion. And I think that was clear in my last video. I didn't come out and say like, yeah, I think that Orion is at least lying, or at least twisting the truth, if not like outright lying with a lot of what they're saying. I didn't come out and say that last time, but I feel comfortable saying it now, not just because a lot of people are on board with Kwite, but because of Orion's own actions after Kwite's video, some of which I became aware of right after I streamed the last time, but some of which have developed since. So we're going to talk about it. So initially, Orion responded to Kwite's video by just acknowledging that they know it exists. They're not going to watch it right now because they're going to be treating this with the utmost respect that it deserves. I can't watch it just yet, but I will try tonight. And then I think shortly, that's not it. Yeah, this additional reply to somebody else, somebody was like asking, what's your response to this, or whatever. This is around when he also said, I'm taking some time right now because I'm really angry about the lying he's doing in the video. So I really need to take my time with my thoughts. Let me just check in on you guys. You can still only see my face? Oh, God. I'm so sorry, guys. Shite. Damn it, I suck. All right. I can, fuck, I suck. Sorry. So shit. All right, so I guess we're just gonna do, so a lot of you guys are familiar with this. I'm going to link everything that I can below in the comments, or in the description of this, or in a pinned comment. And I'm going to, I can put a document together on Google Doc to show this stuff. Sorry, guys. Let me try a different layout. My apologies. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. I understand why it did that now. I'm so pissed. Okay. Holy God. Okay. So I've already told you the story. I'm going to flash these images on screen, pause to read, because again, I do think it's important for these images to be out there. And I would rather do this than make a Google Doc. So I'm going to put these up. I also don't know how to use just a normal computer, apparently. I just want these to be out there now that Orion's Twitter is down. I'm moving these because the whatever. Okay. The screen share, at least on the StreamYard end, it looks like it's not, like my face is covering part of it, so I just don't want that. So I moved it over to the side. This is where that attachment is. This is the screenshot that was attached. And again, I'm just moving it. This is him going back to normal life because there's no response from Kwite. And as I mentioned, that's a picture that he shared. He did not retweet. He did not quote tweet. He shared of a picture of himself with Kwite's face. So at least that part is not true about not sharing that. Kwite's video, we've all seen the thumbnail, but that was on March 11th. Orion's initial response was that they needed to take some time and handle it with respect. This is another reply to somebody else that somebody has screenshotted, and that's the only reason that it still exists, essentially. But they're saying that they're taking some time with their thoughts because they're really angry about what Kwite is saying and all the lying he's doing. Okay, I'm so sorry about the tech. Thank you for being kind about it in the chat. Okay, so a little later on, Orion says they have not seen the full video, but they noticed quite a bit of lying in the first 10 minutes. So they need to show their diagnosis. In the twit longer, they say that they're diagnosed with autism and borderline personality disorder. That is not the diagnosis that they attempt to show. What they do show, which is not a diagnostic form, I talked about that in my last video, my last stream. I showed you my diagnostic packet. This is more of a this is the type of letter that you would bring to request accommodations at your school or at your job. And a million people have debunked the validity of this type of letter. There's a lot of things that are wrong with this, a lot of copy pasting that allegedly went on. So we already talked about that. Lord Bung is a mutual friend between Kwite and Orion, or at least a mutual contact. Lord Bung was mentioned in Orion's twit longer as a supporter. And after Kwite's video came out where he provided so much evidence, Lord Bung responded not by saying, oh, Kwite's lying, Kwite's taking things out of context, Kwite is this and that and whatever. No, Lord Bung responded by saying, I'm sorry for all of the anger and confusion I've aided in causing. I'm still processing the information in Kwite's video. I thought I was just helping my friend. Orion and I have been close for years, so this is a lot for me to digest. Once again, Thank you for those who were patient with me. So it's not an apology, but it is an admission of like, ooh, I might be wrong here. Looking forward to seeing if Lord Bong actually apologizes at some point. TBD. Although if you know about that happening, let me know in the comments. And like the stream while you're here. Kwite was very gracious to people after this whole thing went down, basically after his video was posted. He said at the end of his video, and he reiterates here, we'll be AFK after this, at least for a month, he said. But I said it in my video, the folks who condemned me early are doing what I did in a similar situation related to Slazo. So please give them the charitability I wish I was given when making a serious mistake. That's a very kind way for him to look at people who falsely accused him of being an R-wordist and didn't wait for his side of the story. Similarly, he condemns what this person says. Somebody had posted a comment, I believe. I'm not sure. I don't know if they're commenting on Kwite's video or a different one. It says, I will not respect the pronouns of an abuser who appropriates trans culture for social sympathy points. You're allowed to call me transphobic, and while I might not agree with you, I will defend to the death your right to call me whatever you want because I am an adult who understands the value of free speech. So say what you will, but I refuse to comply to your demands. Godspeed. I'm going to go watch Blair White. So without my commentary on that, Kwite responds saying, when people thought I was guilty, they would not have been justified in calling me a slur for Asian people, because he's at least half Asian, I think, or anything along those lines. This more than definitively applies to trans people. So again, he's being gracious and he's trying to protect still Orion's identity, even though Orion has provably lied about him a lot, very publicly in very serious ways. And then this is where we get into really the issue of today's video. So after I did my stream on either Thursday morning or Friday morning, I don't remember, I started seeing people talking about these tweets by King CODA, who had been messaging with Orion, turns out, after Kwite's video was published. They were pals, or they at least had gotten to know each other during the time between when Orion had posted their accusations and when Kwite posted his video. King CODA came alongside Orion to support him. And then after Kwite did his video, Orion started DMing them. And as he says here, why are you changing your story? First you said Kwite essays you in your car and you didn't provide any details. Now all of a sudden you conveniently remember he did it with fingers. So there's two issues here. One, he R'd me with fingers. Not that can't be R, but it's just not what they described originally as happening. It's not. So yeah, the story is changing, and it's not like, oh, I'm clarifying. It's it's too late for that, man. If you wanted to clarify, you would do that publicly. Right now, you're private messaging someone a news story, a new tall tale. Additionally, he's lying about the context of all those screenshots. That's how you can tell that I think Orion was messaging this to King CODA while watching Kwite's video, because they must not have gotten to the part yet where Kwite said, I'm going to show all of our messages we've ever had linked in the description below. Go ahead and read through it all. You'll see all the context there. So he's not lying about the context of those screenshots, because if he was going to lie about it, he would have disproven himself with what he provided in his own description. I think that lying about the context can mean that maybe Orion was interpreting the conversation differently than Kwite was, which is something that I talked about in my last video, where I think that their communication style was probably toxic between the two of them. And Kwite admits that. I think that it was toxic in different ways from the two different points of view. They each saw it differently, and that compounds the toxicity. And so now at this point, oh, hi. So now at this point, we're starting to see these snippets of conversation that Orion is having with other people behind the scenes, where, you know, why? Why are they talking with people behind the scenes, bringing up information, bringing up details, when all that anybody is asking for in public is, can you please, like I said last time, Kwite has provided so much, you know, like, out of all the information, first Orion provided 100% of all of the available information. Crisis, thank you. I've been looking at your name and trying to figure out how to say it for like a year. Crisis, thank you so much. Okay. First, all we had was Orion's information. 100% of the information came from Orion. Then Kwite responded and dwarfed the amount of information so that it became imbalanced, where Orion's information now amounted for like 15% of all the available information out there. So in my head, I was like, give me more information. Give us more, because there's no way that we can consider you to be telling the truth unless you provide us with some real damn convincing receipts that we haven't seen yet. But based on what's available, based on what's out there, Kwite seems to be telling the truth here, honey bun. I don't know what else to tell you. So all of this, all we've been asking for is information, and Orion choosing not to give it publicly, but to, I think, fish around different storylines to different friends and stuff to see how it blows over. It's a choice. And somebody who received that kind of information did make a video about it, and that person is King CODA, who posted that screenshot of that tweet that we just looked at together. So we're going to screen share again, and I'm going to show you some clips from this video that that King CODA posted, because I think it's very telling. Please tell me how the sound is doing in this format. I'm pretty sure I can actually, when I'm screen sharing, not screen sharing, a video, I can actually.
Kwite's victim lied to, manipulated, and used me and a few dozen other people.
Can you hear it? Is the sound okay? Okay. Is the video sound echoing? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay.
For their own personal gain and to ruin Kwite's career.
Okay, so that's his thesis. I'm actually not sure of their gender. That's King CODA's thesis. I'm gonna skip to, basically what King CODA did is he wants to tell his own story. I'm assuming I don't know. I'm sorry. They want to tell their own story of their interactions with Orion after Kwite's video was published. So they put their screenshots into this video and asked for other people to share theirs as well. So that's what's in this video, some of their own and some of others. Not all of them are necessarily like required for the point to get across. He's also said that it's okay for people to share this video. So thank you, King CODA. So let's take a look at what was going on behind the scenes.
Foxcoms was rightfully skeptical of the validity of my DMs. So here I'm going to open up Twitter on both my phone and my computer to show you that these DMs are in fact real. It all began on February 25th at 11:31 p.m., 2 days after I first released my video on this situation. I won't go in depth about the messages that I sent for the sake of time, but I'll show it on screen here. Basically, I gave Orion my condolences, apologizing if the video offended them, and asking for permission to make a follow-up video, which I ended up not making. He replied saying that it's all good, and that my video was actually one of the only ones that he enjoyed. Whether or not that's a compliment now, I have no idea. They then went on to say how they're more so mad at the people who claim to be neutral yet defend Kwite, and how people are saying that there's no evidence when Orion posted his face. I hate to break it to you, man, but doxing someone doesn't automatically make you a sexual assault.
This is the thing that I truly don't understand. Why does Orion think that the fact that he has a photo of Kwite's face means that he's telling the truth? Those two things are not the same. I can find photos of many people's faces. That does not mean that they R-worded me. I do not see the logical connection. I don't. And they're going to keep coming back to this, and what am I missing?
All allegations true. I continued to defend Orion, stating that if the face was real, then obviously the allegations must be real.
What? Why does he... What am I missing?
And I want to take this moment to apologize for defending Orion.
One thing I will also say, I know I keep cutting in, this young creator is a minor, so we need to be very kind and considerate, in my opinion, when we're talking about minors. I talked about this last time. At least Kwite, I believe, was a minor at the time of the alleged essay that turns out probably did not happen. And I believe that, Kwite was 17 and Orion had possibly just turned 18. I'm not sure of Orion's birthday, but they said their birthday is early in the year, and it was February 2018 when this alleged essay would have happened. So they're either currently a minor, 17, or just barely an adult, just turned 18. Young and dumb, okay? And this person is young, and you're persuadable at that age. And honestly, all I'm trying to say is, let's not jump down anybody's throat for changing their opinion on this or on any other situation, especially when they're a minor and when they're willing to be, as this young man is doing a great job in this video with taking accountability, apologizing, showing exactly where they were wrong, and owning up to what they did wrong, not demanding an apology, or like not demanding anybody accept his apology. I think this is probably one of the best YouTuber apology-ish videos that I've seen in a long time, because it's like he apologizes a little bit throughout, several times when he feels he needs to, like in this moment here. So let me go back to what he was talking about.
Defend Orion, stating that if the face was real, then obviously the allegations must be real. And I want to take this moment to apologize for defending Orion, both publicly and privately. I should have taken my own advice and stayed neutral, but I didn't. I allowed my own personal biases to get in the way of my decision-making. Whether or not you forgive me, that is your choice. I then finished with the line, "Kwite meat writers have no chill." Then things were radio silent for 2 weeks until Kwite posted his response video for the record. I DM'd Orion before even watching the video, saying, hey, he posted his response video. Whatever happens, I will continue to stand by you and support you. Obviously, that aged terribly. Orion then, in turn, started to get defensive, the same way they did before, saying, I can't deal with this BS right now, or I'm really mad because he's straight lying, so I have to be careful right now. He's lying? Lying? He showed dozens of screenshots with full context and gave all his receipts, sometimes literal receipts. And you say he's lying? I sympathize with Orion, going so far as to even offer them my channel to make a response video. Orion continued to state just how mad they were about everything, and of course, I continued to sympathize with him.
I've seen people like this in my life. People like Orion who react the way that Orion has, or at least appears to have in private. Though publicly they were like, I just really need to give this respect and time and just like really think and get my thoughts together. Yeah, I do not doubt what's being said here, but the fact that you're angry doesn't mean you're correct.
Then I started watching Kwite's response video. He's lying about the rape, he said, giving no evidence whatsoever. So far, he's shown a bunch of screenshots, but it's nothing you haven't already shown. Again, I was only a few minutes into the video at this point. And this is where my viral tweet originated from. This right here. He raped me with fingers. And on top of that, he's lying about the context of those screenshots. Again, making completely baseless accusations with no evidence whatsoever. This is when I said something that I am not proud of whatsoever. My response was, yeah, his excuse about sexual performance is interesting, to say the least, and rape can be done in countless different ways.
I honestly, I don't think that was an awful response. In hindsight is 2020. In hindsight, knowing that Orion would almost certainly is not telling the truth about this whole thing, then sure, you can kick yourself for it afterward, I guess. But if this was a real R victim, yeah, R can be done with fingers, or at least SA, not necessarily R, depending on your definition, whatever. But it is SA to use fingers to touch someone where they don't want to be touched, right? We get that. It's also, again, if Kwite was lying, the sexual performance argument would indeed be an interesting response from him.
Completely dismissing Kwite's reasoning like this without even watching the full video is a terrible thing to do. And
that's what he's actually saying is bad.
I am rightfully ashamed by this. I want to make it clear that I am not on Orion's side anymore. I fully side with Kwite and I condemn Orion for lying about everything. But unfortunately, at this moment, I believed otherwise. And then right here is where a train of events started that altered this timeline forever. Orion came to me with this. He's trying so hard to pretend he didn't ruin my fucking life, I might just release my diagnosis. Yes, this is the same fake diagnosis that we saw Orion post initially. I have a paper from my therapist to be sent to my university explicitly stating at a date earlier than now I have diagnosed PTSD around sexual violence in 2018.
I am just fascinated by the statement. I have a paper from a date earlier than now. Yeah, because you already have it. But also, what a weird way to say that. Usually, like, if you have a paper, you'd be like, yeah, back in March of 2019, I got this. Back in June of 2020, I had to give this to my university. At a date earlier than now, making it up off the top of your head, I don't know.
This was huge. If this document was real, which it wasn't, it could have been a huge point of evidence. And then we got this. The second viral tweet of mine. Orion DMs me this document. At a glance, it looks fine. I had never seen something like this before, and I was busy at the moment, so I didn't take a closer look at the actual document. Here, Orion sends me a partially uncensored version of this document. In the first version, Orion forgot to censor the name of the psychologist who allegedly gave him this diagnosis. I looked at this document, and they were a real doctor at this clinic, but they specialize in infant development, not adult psychology, though they have been known to occasionally deal with adolescents and older. I replied saying, yeah, dude, people don't just get PTSD from nothing. What the heck? Also, he's just making baseless accusations and assumptions. That last bit was in reference to Kwite's response video, which I was watching.
Reminder, Orion never said anything about having PTSD. They released this, quote unquote diagnostic evidence of having PTSD. In their twit longer, they said autism and borderline. Just reminding people, it's still not a valuable form for the context of the moment.
During these messages. I don't think I even need to point out how delusional of a take this is. So, am I the reason that this document was posted? That I'm not too sure of.
I don't even mind if he is the reason for it being posted, because it was helpful for us. It gave clarity to whether or not Orion was telling the truth. Even if it is this fraudulent document, thank you. Thank you for telling me that this person is willing to commit like medical fraud or like share fraudulent documents to support their point. Okay.
Whether he had this lying around or just typed it up recently, we'll probably never know. Then almost immediately, the backlash ensued. An hour and a half later, I DM'd Orion saying, people are saying this document is fake, some cringe stuff, I don't know. He never saw these messages, and as of writing this, he still hasn't seen those messages. His last known activity on Twitter was this tweet, and he's remained inactive ever since. No.
Just a note, this video was published on March 19th. Since then, Orion's Twitter has been deleted. There have been some convincing looking fakes popping up impersonating Orion. They're not Orion. But yeah, they gone.
No likes, no retweets, nothing. After that, I offered Orion to come do an interview on my channel. With this, I had the intention of completely grilling him, asking him questions about the points Kwite made, basically just trying to get something out of him, some sort of response.
See, this is all we wanted was information. This is the crazy part. And it reminds me of Creepshow Art versus Emily Artful. It's all about information. You're asking us to come to a conclusion in your favor by providing us one shaky screenshot of a conversation and some photos that you took with somebody. It's just not enough in this day and age. And you had to know that before you made this accusation. Come on.
Unfortunately, I still haven't received anything. I would like to mention quickly that in the replies to his tweets, I posted this link to this fundraiser for an organization called RAIN. RAIN helps real victims of sexual assault, and I recently partnered with them to help raise money for charity, since I wanted to make the most out of this whole situation. I was and still am ashamed to have ever been associated with Orion, and the best thing I can do is help raise money for charity. And so far, just from these tweets alone, we've raised over $100, which is why on March 24th at 3 p.m. PST, I'm going to be hosting an Among Us charity stream with Rytoast.
Okay.
Orion blatantly lied and conspired with me in order to not only manipulate.
Sorry, you should go to the charity stream, not scream, excuse me. But I'm low on time. I'm trying to get things going. Next up are important. I think we should watch this section with DMs from someone named Mango.
Manipulate me, but also the millions of people who saw their tweets and supported them. But it's not just me. Oh, no. What you just saw, that's baby stuff compared to some of the other things Orion has done to others. So let's move on to the stuff that you sent me. Mango showed me these screenshots of his DMs with Orion that outright lied about other YouTubers supporting him. The screenshots start out mid-conversation, but it goes like this. Who did you talk to? A few people, but mostly my therapist. I meant you-know-who's friends. Ariwa, Rolex, James Marriott, T9, Hyojin, and a few.
And just to be 1000% clear, the blue is Mango, the gray would be Orion in this case.
Others. Well, right off the bat, Thaf and Hyojin will not give a shit, no offense. Thaf and Hyojin actually believed me right away. Thaf literally warned his bros not to hang out with him. I can't prove or disprove that any of these people mentioned actually supported Orion, but I think it's safe to assume that they did not. So, not only is Orion lying directly to other creators, but he's also lying about other creators. But again, this isn't anything new. Our third contributor is a
I'm going to summarize this person's DMs. Essentially, they had a voice call with Orion, allegedly, according to them, where Orion claimed to be a victim of pyrocynical. And so that's where I was like, okay, I'm done. This person is there's no, I'm sorry, you can't, it's the chances are astronomical that the same person is going to be an essay victim of multiple famous YouTube people. I hate it.
Is really Orion? I can't say, but here it is nonetheless. These next few contributors have massive these screenshots post.
Next, I do want to look at, sorry guys, you can watch the entire video on your own. The channel is King CODA. Kwite's abuser Orion used me, the truth.
Yourself. Our next contributor is named Sulij. These screenshots post Orion in a terrible light. Take a look at some of these messages. Just between you and me real quick, off the books, Slazo did that shit. Kwite made up that shit to back up Che, but like, for real, Pyro too.
Can I just say, everyone was saying that this whole event was karma getting back at Kwite because Kwite was part of falsely accusing Slazo of, you know, that whole situation in 2019. So to bring up Slazov's name, what was the date on that? February 25th. So while you're still in public favor, so while everyone is still behind you, Orion in this case, to be like, yes, I was essayed, and by the way, this person is also an essayer, and this person over here, and I was the victim of this third person. What is going on? Like, everybody has cleared Slazov's name, including Kwite, who in his big long video apologized for being part of that mob. So, okay.
For real, Pyro too. I may or may not have been one of Pyro's victims. Yeah, that's how I know Kwite used a bot, because Pyro did it first.
So they repeat that claim to two different people, allegedly. The first one was in a voice call, so we don't have it written down here in written form. If, you know, as long as King CODA is telling the truth and these aren't manipulated and blah, 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 taking all of those things, right, under the premise that everybody here is telling the truth, then he's perpetuating this claim that he was also a victim of Pyro to a second person, which is big to me. You know, it's just big. Yeah.
Okay, whoa. So Orion is not only accusing Kwite of deleting their old messages using a bot, which was later proven false by Kwite himself, but now he's also accusing Pyro of assaulting him? What? That is insane. And yet again, no grounds or evidence to back any of this up. It's ridiculous. But it gets...
That's all we want. Evidence.
It's worse. Orion then goes on to state that apparently he has voicemails from Kwite saying his dead name and that they are going to use them to blackmail him. I'll just post his voicemails and say, face reveal then. Prove it's not you. Post face. Did he say?
Again with the face. This is what I don't get. Why does the fact that you knew somebody in real life, unless this is a pure clout chase, I hate to say it, I don't like that being used as a justification, as like, oh, this person is just clout chasing. And I have some thoughts about the impacts of Orion's bullshit on the rest of us. I hate saying that it's for a clout, but the fact that you know what someone's face looks like does not mean that you're right. What does he think that's going to gain?
Anything absurd in his voicemails? Just proves that we met up. He says my dead name, but I'm not posting those. Convenient. I have 3 voicemails from him. People are going to accuse me of lying. I'm just going to show the one of him telling me to call him back. Yet again, another example of Orion withholding certain pieces of evidence conveniently. Meanwhile, Kwite did not hide anything. They then go on to whine about how they didn't need attention and how it's so stressful for them, which personally I think is just bullshit, but that's just me. He then goes on to state that he started blocking people he disagreed with because it ruined his mental health, and he even started calling people who questioned him attention seekers. Also,
the thing is, like, if Orion was telling the truth, these would be very, at least the mental health part, valid. The attention-seeking part, not sure. You know? And that's what sucks, is they're displaying some behaviors of what would be real if this was real for them, co-mingled with all of this fake shit.
So, Vriska, the character that Orion is apparently the #1 defender of, is a lying and emotionally manipulating asshole who retaliated against someone who rejected their advances. Ironic, isn't it? This final contributor is by far the largest.
I'm just gonna skip ahead a second.
Hey, long time no talk. This is Orion from back in the day.
Sorry, the person asked to remain anonymous.
I have something you may want to know. I was raped by one of your friends. If you promise not to tell him I told you, I can tell you who it is with receipts.
How would they find out, other than from you, that their friend had essayed you? What? Okay. So what you want is for Kwite to just think that this rumor is going around?
Kwite raped me. I have proof. Have you seen his face?
The face! Again! Why? Why?
I don't want to sound as if I do not believe, but do you have more evidence? He isn't going to say, remember when I...
Can I just say, hence or this that response.
He isn't going to say.
Hold on.
He isn't going to. I don't want to sound as if I do not believe, but do you have more evidence? He isn't going to say, remember when I raped you that one time? What kind of DMs do you meet?
That is the conundrum of our current era. No one wants a victim to be lying, but we do have critical thinking skills, and we can smell when something is fishy. I have some notes I'm actually reading from. The conflict between these two factors is definitive of this era, at least in online spaces, since the hashtag #MeToo movement gained popular awareness around 2015 to 2017. That's why I was slow to talk about this, because I needed to hear from both sides. And that's why my personal phrase right now that I'm leaning on in regards to these things is trust but verify. I want to believe you. I trust that something happened here. I also need to see some information about it. And we'll talk more about that in a second.
He didn't apologize because he didn't think he did anything wrong. He was mad at me about it. He actually made me buy him popcorn at the movie theater to apologize. Now, thanks to Kwite, we know that all of this isn't true. The rest of these GMs are just him reiterating the lies he told in his Twitlonger, so I'm going to skip out on those.
Okay. And I'm going to thank you, King CODA. Everybody go check out this video on your own for the rest. I'll link it in the description when I'm done with this today. But yeah, in general, first and foremost, like I said before, huge props to King CODA for being humble and apologizing multiple times in this video and taking accountability and owning up to what his mistakes were. I'm sorry, I'm not sure of their gender. I'm so sorry. They definitely see the error of their ways, whatever error there is. To be honest, though, I don't really feel upset when someone believes and supports someone who claims that they are a victim, as long as they don't use that support to go and hurl accusations and insults at the accused before they have responded in any way. You can support someone without turning into like a mean and vindictive asshole, and without defaming them. You know, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm just looking at my notes. So I'm slow to process these situations these days, because having been watching the internet for a few years now, I've seen a lot of 180-degree flip types of situations. So I try to I'm slow making my videos, you know that, although I've been streaming more. Let me know if you like the streams. I'm slow because I don't want to get things wrong, and because the accusations are so serious that it's like, I don't want to touch this if it ends up being fake, because I don't want to perpetuate the fake narrative. And I'm not just here to like make content, because you can be that creator that follows every step of the process, and that way you benefit off of every single moment of every change in the story and whatever happens. That's how a lot of people make their careers. But I have a day job, and I'm not trying to necessarily, I'm here to provide commentary from a little bit more of a removed perspective. And I think that that's a more safe way to handle these extremely serious allegations. Yeah. But with all of that being said, now that Orion has in their own way spoken more of their side of the story, I do feel comfortable saying now that I believe Kwite's version of events much more. So just some final thoughts, and I have these written down, so if I'm reading, that's what I'm looking at. Orion has shown a penchant for lying about SA, and as an SA victim myself, I find it deeply frustrating and hurtful when these situations happen. We all want in our hearts to believe that victims are telling the truth, and that is a recent progressive change for the world to start immediately believing victims instead of immediately dismissing them. That is a positive change. But every time this happens, especially so publicly, it impacts the whole community of SA victims, which is statistically like 1/3 of human beings, and it sets us all back. It becomes harder and harder for us to come forward and tell our stories. The hard truth is that oftentimes SAs happen without messages, screenshots, timestamps, photos, and other hard evidence. Victims in those circumstances deserve to be believed. But it does not help them when someone comes to the internet with nothing more than their word, which ideally should be enough, but then all of the tangible evidence that does exist comes out from the other side and shows the opposite of what the alleged victim is saying to be true. It gives people reasons not to trust victims, as if there aren't enough already. The world is trying to change into a positive direction toward believing victims, and this type of deceptive, petty, self-serving bullshit hurts the entire community, and it's pathetic and unacceptable. And that's why I wanted to talk about this morning, because this is so it's bigger than just Orion. And there is a positive message to be gained here about hopefully a lot of people learning to take a step back and wait until both sides speak before coming to your own conclusion. It is a-okay when somebody makes an accusation to ask the accused, hey, just so you know, this accusation is out there. Can you please respond? Because we need to know if this is true or not. We need to know what happened here. There's nothing wrong with respectfully asking for a response. The problem is the immediate jump to you did this without at least hearing their side of the story. And again, at the same time, it's hard when so many of the times these things happen without screenshots and text messages and DMs to rely on for evidence. So I wonder how this would have been received had they not had such an online relationship with so many physical hard evidence resources to provide. I wonder where we would be now. I wonder how we would be perceiving this. It's different, you know? Okay, so that's where I'm at with this right now. I feel like unless Orion says anything else, the story is pretty much done from my perspective. So I'm gonna leave this here. Let me know in the comments below or in the live chat or both how you're liking the morning streams. I am late for work, so I have to leave. But if I can get going early enough in the morning, and especially if once I pay for StreamYard, if I can keep using StreamYard to incorporate resources, I think that this will be a good way for me to address things a little bit more in the moment. But again, like I said, still with my reservations about wanting to hear multiple sides of the story. Yeah, so sorry, I'm like, my brain is, I keep looking at the clock and thinking I need to go. So I'm gonna get out of here, but thank you so much for chatting in the chat. Thank you for being here in the morning with me. Thank you, Crisis. Thank you, Miso. Who else is here? Thank you, Chelsea Louise. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Pink Circle. Thank you, Shannon. I saw some bots here before. Thank you, bots. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I gotta go. Please consider liking and subscribing. Set your notifications to all for sure if you want to get notified about these early streams. And let me know your thoughts and everything in the comments. I'll try to link whatever I have in the description. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Good morning, goodbye. And leave this situation here in the video. Don't take the stress with you. All right, that's it. Bye.